Hello, friend. This is Ryan Hicks of TalkToProfit.com. Today, I want to talk to you about the number one rule of manifestation: why what you say changes everything. And I want to go into a story about Elisha the prophet and the Shunammite woman. I'm not going to go through the whole entire story, but briefly to get you up to this point where the prophet Elisha was going by her area regularly, and she would give bread to him and his servant. She would even gave him a place to stay so he didn't have to just travel all the way through during the night. He could stay there, relax. She was very kind and helpful to him. So he wanted to do a favor for her. And he asked her what she wanted. What does she want to be done? And Elisha prophesied that she would have a son because that's what she wanted. She didn't have a child and her husband was old. And so he prophesied, according to the time of life, thou shalt embrace a son. And she said, Nay, my Lord, thou man of God, do not lie unto thy handmaid. And the woman conceived and bare a son at that season that Elisha had said unto her, according to the time of life, meaning the full gestation period, the full 9 months of her carrying the child. And this is in 2 Corinthians chapter 4. She had this miracle. The child grew up. Now let's pick up this story in 2 Corinthians chapter 4, verse 18. And when the child was grown, it fell on a day that he went out to his father to the reapers. And he said unto his father, My head, my head. And he said to a lad, Carry him to his mother. And when he had taken him and brought him to his mother, he sat on her knees till noon, and then died. And she went up and laid him on the bed of the man of God, and shut the door upon him, and went out. Now understand, when Elisha would come through, they had made a place for him, and she laid her dead child, the prophesied child that she had received, on the bed. So the prophet would come and he would see this dead child. And she called unto her husband and said, Send me, I pray thee, one of the young men and one of the asses, that I may run to the man of God and come again. And he said, Wherefore wilt thou go to him today? It is neither new moon nor Sabbath. And she said, It shall be well. So she is using her words to prophesy herself, to speak words of faith. Her child just died. Most women would be crying or going crazy or something, but she was calm and deliberate and knew that her words had power. And she said, It shall be well. But that's not all she said. It goes on. Then she saddled an ass and said to her servant, Drive and go forward, slack not thy riding for me, except I bid thee. So she went and came unto the man of God to Mount Carmel. And it came to pass when the man of God saw her afar off, that he said to Gehazi his servant, Behold, yonder is that Shunammite. Run now, I pray thee, to meet her, and say unto her, Is it well with thee? Is it well with thy husband? Is it well with the child? And she answered, It is well. Once again, she speaks forth what she wants, not what she doesn't want. She doesn't speak the problem. She didn't start talking about her son dying or anything negative that anybody would have understood. She just said, It is well. Now, I'm not going to read the entire story, but Elisha goes to the child and resurrects him from the dead. And her child is restored to her, but she never spoke words of doubt. She spoke the word of faith. She believed and knew that her words had power and never let a single doubt creep in, even though her son was dead. The time to doubt is when your son's dead, but she didn't allow it at all because she knew better than that. She knew that it was well. Now, Jesus gave us a very similar understanding in Mark chapter 11, verse 22 and 23. He said, Have faith in God. For verily I say unto you that whosoever shall say unto this mountain, Be thou removed, and be thou cast into the sea, and shall not doubt in his heart, but shall believe that those things which he saith shall come to pass, he shall have whatsoever he saith. That Shunammite woman maybe didn't have a full revelation of the scripture, didn't have a full revelation of God, but she knew the power of her words, and she knew that she would have whatsoever she said. And so she only said, It is well. This is why so many people's manifestation lives are a disaster, because they speak out of one side of their mouth, it is well, and out the other side of the mouth, it's terrible. Now listen, I understand there's times you have to reveal there's an issue going on or whatever. I get that. But when you're harping on it and continuing meditating on it and focusing on it and telling everybody you can about it, there's a serious problem there, and you're going to manifest bad things in your life. You're going to keep attracting those things you don't like and pushing away the things you want. Now, sometimes people say, well, that's just Mark 11:23. There's nothing else Jesus said like that. Absolutely incorrect. Because in Luke chapter 17, verse 6, Jesus tells us the same basic principle. He says, if ye had faith as a grain of mustard seed, ye might say unto the sycamore tree, be thou plucked up by the root, and be thou planted in the sea, and it should obey you. That's an even deeper promise there, because he's showing that the physical world will obey you. This makes passages of scripture like Isaiah chapter 45, verse 11 make more sense, where it says, thus saith the Lord, the Holy One of Israel and his Maker, ask me of things to come concerning my sons, and concerning the work of my hands command ye me. You can command the creation. You can speak words of life. You can speak also words of death. That's why the scripture says in Proverbs chapter 18, verse 21, that death and life are in the power of the tongue. Most people, unknowingly, they're not choosing it on purpose. They don't set out each day and say, oh, I could choose to speak life, but I'm going to choose death instead. They don't even think about it. It's a natural, almost impulse in them to just speak forth words of death, speak forth the things they don't want. Sometimes they want and desire, by speaking their problems, to get a pat on the back from somebody else, or get a knowing to kind of commiserate with people in their misery. But I'm at a point where I don't want that. I'd much rather have no one agreeing with me and live a glorious, blessed life because I'm speaking forth words of faith, than to have people pat me on the back and feeling bad for me or whatever because I had this problem and I'm going around blabbing it to everybody. Your words, your daily conversations, the affirmations you use. Now, you may not even think about affirmations, but if you're saying things repeatedly, I'm not good at that. Well, I just don't have money. Well, we just can't do that. Well, I'm not smart enough for that. Or any kind of negativity in any form or fashion. You're dragging yourself down. Even casual comments can drag you down and can attract bad things into your life. You are the creator of your reality. I know the world and the professing Christian church likes to blame it all on God. Your life is bad because God did it to you. And they think that's humble or spiritual or something, when it's pure blasphemous nonsense. You are creating your life. Your life is the way it is because of the words you've chosen, the thoughts you've thought, the actions you've taken or failed to take, the inaction you've put in your life. You can go around trying to blame God, but instead of looking to God as the problem, realize that He's the solution, and He's given you the power to solve your problems by speaking the word of faith, by speaking words of life, by decreeing those things you want and not decreeing those things you don't want, not speaking the problem, not talking about this bad thing and that bad thing, but speaking forth words of life. When you follow passages of scripture like Philippians chapter 4, verse 8, and only think about things that are lovely and good report, you naturally can't speak forth things that are not lovely, speak forth things that are not of good report, speak forth things that are not true, speak forth things that are not virtuous. You speak forth of things that are good and blessed and pure and positive. And if you do that enough, because at first there'll be some pushback, your old programming will try to come in. Well, that stuff doesn't work. You can't just speak what you want, just have it happen. But if you overcome that temptation to doubt, that temptation to speak forth things you don't want, that temptation to talk about what is, and instead replace it with thinking about things that are lovely and good report, speaking forth things you want, speaking forth the word of faith. Scripture says, let the weak say, I am strong. It wasn't so they could lie. It was so that they would decree the thing they wanted and get the result. The Shunammite woman knew that. She knew it was well. It didn't matter what the world was showing her. It didn't matter if her son was dead. She knew it was well, and it was. And she spoke by the words of faith. And if you'll do that yourself, you will manifest a life that is glorious, abundant, and full of everything you desire in maximum manifestation. It's just a matter of the words you speak. My friend, I pray this is a blessing for you. May God bless you richly.